My name is Tony Briniger, and I'm currently the Vice Chair of the Valley View School District, which is in Canyon County. And I care about clean electric school buses because I care about our environment and our kids' future. As a school leader, it's important for us to think to the future and think of how we are leaving the earth for the children that we're educating. Secondly, being fiscally responsible is important to me and important to our district, important to all Idahoans. And electric school buses over the lifetime will save our district $140,000 per bus. So right now, if you look up how much an electric school bus is, it's about $230,000 versus a traditional diesel school bus is only $110,000. However, while that might seem like a lot of a difference, the federal government is offering multiple programs to offset the cost. Currently, there are bills going through Congress that are being written and voted on that would allocate $5 to $10 billion toward electric school bus purchasing for schools. Currently, the language has 100% rebate for schools who choose to buy the clean electric school buses versus the diesel school buses. Basically, you're getting a free bus.
Electric buses have a range of between 100 and 150 miles on a single charge and can run in cold weather. Electric school buses are estimated to be 60% less expensive to operate and maintain. A recent analysis found that an electric bus saves nearly $2,000 a year in fuel and $4,400 a year in reduced maintenance cost, which breaks down to a lifetime fuel and maintenance savings of around $140,000. One school district found that their electric buses cost about 19 cents per mile to operate, compared to diesel buses which cost 82 cents a mile. Budgeting for an electric bus is also easier, as energy prices have stayed relatively stable over the past 20 years, unlike diesel.
The buses are also free of admissions, making the air in and around the buses cleaner and safer for students, maintenance staff, and drivers. The air quality inside a diesel bus is 5 times worse than outside the bus. Replacing a diesel bus with an electric bus significantly improves air quality for students inside the bus and for the communities we serve.
A 2011 study found that exposing children to environmental pollutants during important times of physiological development can lead to long-lasting health problems, dysfunction, and disease. The study also found that schools located in areas with the highest air pollution levels had the lowest attendance rates, a potential indicator of poor health, and the highest proportion of students who failed to meet state educational testing standards. Several recent papers have been able to link indoor air quality to reduced cognitive performance. Studies have also shown that test scores significantly decline when students take tests on days with high levels of particulate pollution. Because of findings like these, some experts argue that switching to pollution-free buses is one of the cheapest ways to improve student health and performance.
I want my school district to switch to electric buses because it will make my family feel safer sending me to school.
I really want my school district to switch to electric buses because I think a kindergartner getting on an electric bus is so different than a kindergartner getting on a diesel bus. It teaches kids environmentalism and it teaches kids values that we need in Idaho.
I agree, and I think that schools are uniquely situated to educate future generations about the importance of protecting the environment and decarbonizing.
And then there's the obvious reason that we just want better air quality in our state and better air quality locally.
Air pollution really does adversely affect sports seasons, and as cross-country runners, Petra and I both experience that every fall with the fires, but also with air pollution from vehicles. And as a person who experiences seasonal depression, when it's smoggy out, it is harder to study, it is harder to focus. And that's why it's really important that school districts lead the way to making cleaner skies and greener scenes in Idaho.
When the weather's better, you feel better. And when it's smoggy and it's hard to be outside, you feel worse. You don't want to go to school. Your lunch period's not as fun because you can't go outside.
I have friends with asthma, and it's really scary knowing that the air quality inside diesel buses are 5 times worse than the quality outside diesel buses.
I think that, especially this year, our school district could do with the extra $100,000 that a single electric bus brings in. because we're short. I know we have a part-time nurse, which has been especially difficult during COVID. We can't hire enough janitors or school bus drivers, and that money could help pay for those kinds of things. Paying for advanced opportunities as well, like college classes and dual credit classes, would be really useful, I think, for especially on students who are on underprivileged students.
I also am really worried about my bus drivers. I've loved every single one of my bus drivers. And I want them to be safe. I want their health to be protected. I think one of my bus drivers got a perm to copy me once. That was how deep the love was.
School bus drivers are really heroes, and school districts need to show that they care about them and want to protect them.
Yeah, I definitely owe a lot to school bus drivers, because I've been taking the bus ever since elementary school and throughout junior high and high school, and I can't help but worry about their health as much as I worry about mine or my friends.
And what an important person to protect, the person whose job it is to make sure we get our critical education and to get us there every day. We need to think about that person when we consider electric school buses.
I'm so excited for schools to lead the way into the future, and I think we can do that with electric buses.
Hi everyone, so I'm here with Superintendent Turgeon, and we're just going to jump straight into the questions. To start, would you just introduce yourself, your school district, and share how many electric school buses you currently have?
Yes, absolutely. Hello to everyone listening. My name is Andy Turgeon. I'm the superintendent of Knox County R1 schools. We're located in Northeast Missouri. We have approximately 450 students K through 12, so we're a small rural district. This is a farming community, so we cover 496 square miles with our routes. And we have one electric school bus and hope to buy 2 more this year. So we're pretty excited. We love the one we have, and we're excited about expanding that.
Great. And so I know electric buses cost more upfront. Can you share how your school district funded your first one and how you're looking to fund the future ones?
Absolutely. So we started researching this actually 2 years before we bought our first bus. And when I first started researching it, it would have been easy to say, oh, these are too expensive. There's no way we can afford an electric school bus. But then we kind of researched for some grants. In the process, the Missouri Department of Natural Resources is who monitors the VW money for the state of Missouri. And they had a comment period where they were trying to figure out what to do with the VW money, if there's a better way to spend it. So I wrote them a letter, contacted them, had several communications with them, and convince them to do a pilot project to allow 50% funding for electric buses for up to 10 buses in the state of Missouri. That made it possible for us to purchase our bus, but that was still, quite a bit more than a diesel at the time. Through my research, I had been really involved with our local electric companies, and they were really interested in being part of the pilot as well. So they chipped in $45,000 towards the bus. And then I ran across this USDA grant that ended up chipping in about $116,000. Before it was all said and done, as a big surprise to me, I wished I'd applied for 3 or 4 if I'd have known, but we ended up spending $7,500 for our electric bus. That won't happen again. But part of the process to convince DNR is I promised them whatever data I collect, I will share with them. And I've created a website. People can look at the website. I need to update the data, but I just got back from vacation, so I've got 2 to 3 weeks of data to put back in there. But I've been keeping data on the cost to run it compared to a diesel, even to emissions and how many trees could have been planted for 10 years because of the emissions that we've saved. So there's a lot of good information on there, and then any kind of things that we've discovered, benefits that we think that the electric bus offers. So all that's on the website, and that was part of the deal with DNR. So, and they're pretty excited about it. And through that process, we've decided that these buses are beneficial. So that 50% with no other funding money for us makes it worth it to buy more electric buses.
That's great, and we'll share that website with the conference attendees. So how does the electric bus compare in terms of range? I know a lot of people have the classic range anxiety issue concerning
Well,
electric.
So there's three. We went with line electric, and there's three options with line. You can get 100 mile, 125 mile, or 155 mile. We went with the 125 mile, and honestly, that's perfect for us. And before I selected the mile range, the first thing I did is I analyzed all our routes, and our longest route, combining the morning and in the afternoon, was right about 97 miles for the full day. Because our goal, when we worked with our electric company, they told us if you can charge the bus between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., we'll give you a better rate. So they do. So we were looking for a bus that wouldn't have to be plugged in during the day, can run the routes, and then plug it in and program the charger to charge from 10 to 6. And so that's what we do. So the 125 mile range is perfect. And when I first started investigating this, we felt like, okay, the electric bus is not designed to go on trips. You know, it's not designed to just take off and go 120 miles one way, because it take a little bit to charge it and come back. But I really believe that that's changing. We're seeing an increase in range. Plus, when you start seeing other school districts start doing the same thing and having charging stations at their school, then we'll get to the point where we can take the electric bus, go to a basketball game while we're there for 3 hours playing basketball games. The bus can be charging, and then we can get back home. So I think here in the next year or two, you're going to start seeing a lot more of that happen as more schools purchase electric buses.
That's great. And have you had any issues with the range when it gets down to cold weather?
We did not see any differences in temperatures because we've kept track of what the temperatures were, and our kilowatt usage on cold days was pretty similar to our kilowatt usage on warm days. We do not have air conditioning on our bus. We usually don't get air conditioning on our buses, so we didn't order it with air conditioning. So you would think that the winter would be harder, but I can tell you, there are times our diesel buses wouldn't start, but the electric bus fired right up. And the range, my bus driver on some of those cold days was still driving 4 more miles than what she was using up on the range. So that tells me that cold weather is not an issue at all on these buses. The biggest thing that impacts the range is your bus drivers and how they drive it. I have one bus driver, I call her my superstar driver because she seems to beat her record of how many less miles she uses every time. Then I have a bus driver because my plan was to rotate it around all the bus drivers. I had a bus driver didn't want to drive it, and he made that clear when I started looking at how many kilowatts he was using. So every chance he got, he was probably gunning it to try and use it up. So the driver makes the biggest difference. I don't think the temperatures affect it because the batteries are temperature controlled. So I think the biggest thing is who's driving it and making sure that those drivers are trained and drive it with fidelity on the most efficient way to drive it.
So have the drivers enjoyed driving the new electric bus?
Yeah, so I ended up having 5 drivers drive it out of my 9. The school year ended by the time we got our bus, I was trying to put it on there for 3 weeks at a time. So we didn't have time to run it through all the drivers. But out of the 5, I have 4 that are asking, so who's getting the bus and are you going to get any more? They're pretty excited about it.
That's great. And what charging infrastructure was required for the bus?
So this is something that, anybody that does not have an electric bus, you need to make sure that the communication is very clear on this, because this was one of the obstacles that we had. Our electric company, they're new at this as well, as far as electric buses and electric vehicles. They said, hey, we're the electric company. We'll take care of the charging infrastructure for the electric bus. We'll order the charger. We'll pay for it. So I thought, yeah, perfect, great. The problem was the bus that we bought, we did not go for a DC charge, a fast charge, because in some of my research, and we all know, the faster you charge batteries, it takes away from their longevity as far as lifespan of a battery. So we thought, let's do AC. We don't have no reason. We're just using it on the routes. We have no reason to have it fully charged in 3 hours. So we're just going to charge it at night. So we just did AC charging. And the AC charging calls for a 19.2 kilowatt system, kilowatt hour system. The electric company ordered a charger that was maximum 12 kilowatt, but was only producing about 8 kilowatt per hour. So just to give an example to people listening out there, 8 kilowatt per hour, it would take 25 hours if that bus was completely drained for me to charge it. So basically I'd be looking at, okay, the electric bus is only going to go every other day. We can't do that. So then it came to the point to where we were, every time we'd run a route, come back, charge it, and then run another route, come back, charge it. And then about every 3 days, we were kind of getting lower and lower. And then I was like, okay, we have to take a day off. So pretty quickly, we got a different charger, one that's a 19.2 kilowatt system if you're doing AC charging. And we've not had any issues. It charges after running both routes, morning and afternoon. It takes about 4.5 to 5 hours to charge it.
That's great. That's good. That's helpful information. And my last question was going to be if you're adding more buses in the future, but it sounds like you've already got plans to add 2 more.
Yes, we're waiting for DNR, the Department of Natural Resources, to open up the application for the grant period again. They might increase the percentage, but at the very minimum will be at least 50%. And we have 2 buses that qualify for that replacement program. So if they release the application, we're going to apply for 2 buses, and hopefully we get 2 more electric buses this year.
That's great. Well, I want to say thank you so much to Superintendent Turgeon. I really appreciate you answering our questions so we can share out with the attendees.
All right. Thank you.